Good morning, wonderful friends. I don't know if I got the right angle here. Probably seeing my messy hair. I don't even know. But this video is not about hair. It is about feathers. It is about my chickens. There's Roosty. It's about my chickens being, I think, happier than they've ever been in their lives. And maybe they get a little parallel metaphor for what Raven and I are going through to some degree. Is life was, for the chickens, life was pretty good. They had a lot of free range. And then they had to be cloistered for a little while, for the last month, from May 6th until now. But it had to be that way because of circumstance. And then yesterday, my wonderful, wonderful neighbor, John, was, well, I'm going to say it, was loving and gracious enough to offer to move my chicken coop as a neighborly friend thing to do. And I still, when I think about it, I get emotional. But I love my two neighbors on each side of me. I've had 5 years of getting to know them. You know, not like hanging out every day kind of getting to know them. It's different. But if you think about it, my client friends for Soul Prints, that some of them I've known for, over 20 years, I don't sit and hang out with them either. They're sometimes in the States, in New Zealand, Australia, Tel Aviv, parts of Europe, and but they have quite often become very deep friends. So it's a different definition of friendship. But anyways, back to my chickens. Yeah, so no, not back to my chickens yet. I'll just finish that off, top that off with, I'm very grateful for, I'll say, John and his family on one side of me, and the Musclos on the other side of me. Just wonderful people, really solid, deep, as solid as the rock that we are living on here out in the Hastings Highlands. Words don't describe it, and words don't describe the depth of feeling in my heart and the feeling of safety that I feel as well. When shit hits the fan kind of thing in the world, I feel safe here. I feel protected. I feel like people are watching my back. Not that someone has to, but it just feels that way, and that's how neighbors should be, at least when I used to read books, or when I was a kid growing up in Carleton Place outside of Ottawa. That's how I remember neighbors to be. They always helped you, or they gave you some vegetables from their garden, or a chicken that they had just butchered or something. It's just, there was something really wholesome about it. Wholesome, yeah, it's a good word too. But anyways, the end result here, John offered to, he knew I was in a difficult situation, in a bit of a bind, and to the new buyer of the house that we sold, to their credit, they had to put up with quite a lot. I mean, we each had to put up with each other. I did some favors for him. He did some favors for me. I think his favor for me was a bit more difficult, to put up with chickens in your yard for a month till I can move the coop. That takes some patience. And if you're not into chickens, smell of chicken poo is not necessarily your favorite thing, So I'm also thankful to the new neighbors for putting up with all of that. Not that either of us had control over it, but still, circumstance is circumstance. And, it was a little tense for a while, a little difficult, but luckily now the tension is gone. and now we can mend, put some, what is it, vinegar and brown paper on the bruises. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after, and something or other. Da, 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 da. The next verse says something about fixing with vinegar and brown paper. So maybe vinegar and brown paper is actually good for wounds. I don't know. But anyways, that was a silly thing that came up. Well, it's not silly because, healing the inner child. It always boils back to that. And the inner child holds on to those children's rhymes and fables and things, which is why so many alter those over time to alter the perspective of children, hopefully in a good way, but sometimes not. But anyway, so what I wanted to show you was John so amazingly, check this out. He put the chicken coop so exact. He was so embarrassed at his exactness that it slightly curled up a little corner of the shingle. So I have to just lop off that little piece of the cedar post of the fence to let that lay back down. But I mean, John did this with this big heavy machinery, which I have on a video that will be, will precede this one for sure. I don't know. I'm overwhelmed in a good way. And one of John's friends that came over, I won't mention names. I'll just, mention too many names, it all lines up, and maybe it's too much information and they don't want to be known. But their cows, John keeps in his field sometimes. Wonderful, wonderful guy. And of course, John's son, Jack. What I feel blessed having children on each side of me, because children are life. And I was a child growing up in the country, and because of circumstance and my abusive father, my mother left him and had to move to the city to make ends meet. So right when I was about to really indulge in being a farm boy and getting to learn how to drive a car in the field and a tractor and do all the cool stuff, I end up having to move to the city. And now I'm catching up on what I missed. But I get to see it in these children on each side of me. And I do. I was talking to Jack yesterday, and there's a way that kids out in these places get raised. It's wholesome, and their hands are in the dirt, and they're experiencing like an apprenticeship with their parents day by day, just direct, hands-on. It's different. It's different, and I see kids in the city, and I'm not knocking it, each are different ways and stuff, but I see kids in the city, and they're having to be walked along little sidewalks and not step into traffic, and it wasn't as fun for me. I mean, there's a lot of amazingness. Don't get me wrong. When I had to move into the city, or just outside of downtown Ottawa, it was about a half-hour bus ride. The East End, if anyone knows Ottawa, Ogilvie, Montreal Road, Montreal and Ogilvie, between Montreal and Ogilvie, and Montreal and Blair Road is about where I was. Shopper City East, the National Research Council with the big ball bearing sitting in the front. These were all very like walking distance to me. And having more kids around was definitely a neighborhood, where you could just get up and get on your bikes and go for bike rides and stuff. Each had its own wonderfulness, I have to admit. But I missed that country and that wholesomeness, and I gravitated towards it as much as I could when I was in Ottawa as a kid. And me and other kids, we'd always ride to the wilderness, Hogsback River, and we'd always take these bicycle trails, and Ottawa is always good for that. And it's gotten better since I went back there probably about 20 years ago, and we rode the trails, Raven and I. So, yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying one is the perfect thing and the other is horrible. But I do gravitate towards this country lifestyle. And when I see young kids like Jack, so sensible and, but, still a kid. You got to watch them. But I can see it growing within him, the wisdom that's going to root him here and help him flourish rather than being a fish out of water, which, for 5 years, I fully was a fish out of water. Everything was a learning curve and still is, but at least I've got 5 years of stuff under my belt, and I have wonderful neighbors that have lived here all their lives, and they're willing to pass on little bits to me like they do to their kids, so I'm kind of like an adult kid in that sense. So I can see how people not used to the idea or haven't been in both places like I have, say from the country here, and they see people from the city coming up, and you get terms like cityit, and I was kind of offended by that, or being called a cityit, or so on, when I first moved out here. And I'm comprehending it now, and it's not like all people in the country say that. Most people understand these things, but when people get frustrated, when you get frustrated as a kid, you lash out at your brother or sister. It's that kind of thing. It's like friendly lashing out of frustration out there. These ravens are being little gang. Look at them. They're very interested in the chickens being here. I'm not too concerned because they were always around when the chickens were in broad daylight, no trees for protection. So, but they are super curious, eh? It's like a little street gang or something. Hey, get off my turf. But anyways, the chickens now get to have a totally different environment. And I didn't even plan this. And half of my life right now has not been planned by me consciously. You could say it's planned by the universe, circumstance, whatever. But for example, this was a full sectioned off area for the dogs, this fenced in area. Then Raven had this idea, and I wasn't even 100% sure what she was getting at. She wanted a dividing fence, which I don't know if you can kind of see the post right over there. So it's this area here is sectioned off. Maybe this is about a third, and the other maybe this is a quarter, and the other is a 3/4 size. And we're like, okay, well, if we ever need to sequester the dogs on one side while we do something on the other side, or vice versa, or maybe if someone, tell people not to bring dogs because these guys get all worked up. But if there was a situation, you could have another dog here or whatever. Or future, if we ever decided to breed Tor with another dog, just keeping things open. But just the other day, because also mentioning we had an electrical hookup ready for the chicken coop down at the front of the place. We're in the back. And it was... who was it that first said? I can't remember now. Was it Raven? Was it? But anyway, someone mentioned the idea of why not put it back here. And at first, my mind was just like, what the fuck? Like, that's not that stupid, but that I didn't resonate with it at all. But I am learning how to open up even when I first feel something that doesn't feel right. So I just kind of kept judgment aside and listened and thought and felt. And it started to feel kind of like a good idea. And then I said to John, would it be easier to get it here? And he said, yeah, might be. He said, but don't let that influence you and your choice, because ultimately you got to live with it. So I thought about it. I thought, well, I still have electrical here. It's not ready for hookup right now, but it wouldn't be too much to have that done, have an outlet. And then John mentioned that it's definitely good, and I agree, to have your coop where the wind is blowing the smell, if there is any smell, some days more than others. You don't want the wind always blowing the smell at you. So up here, the wind is blowing the smell away from the house, whereas down there, it would be blowing it towards the house. So that was another point in this direction for this choice. So I had to put mesh onto the gates because now it's the chickens. And I was still only, like I decided, okay, if we move the chicken coop here, I was still thinking about the chickens being free to roam. And that was already starting to, I was a little concerned. Excuse me. Maybe I'll just face you guys. I was a little concerned about the chickens, although the dogs are nearby to keep predators away and so forth. I just felt like maybe the forest is a little too close for the chicken's safety, and would predators come sneak into the edge, having that confidence, and then just pull a chicken out, and we'd have chickens disappearing. So I was wondering about that, and then I had this thought about the chicken coop coming out here, and I thought, well, if I put the coop right up against the fence, I could cut holes in the fence for them to come and go. So in essence, they have a full protection if I was to give up this area to be for the dogs and it's completely for the chickens. And then the more I thought about it, it's like I had to let go of this preconceived notion that the dogs were getting this and they had more room and more space and so on. And it's not like it's permanent anywhere. Everything can be flexible, and I like having it that way. But anyways, so this is my process. And the more I settled with it, the more I'm thinking, you know what? This is maybe good for an almost permanent, because I can have a day once I'm familiar with them here. Oh, another aspect is I was worrying about the chickens wanting to eat my veggies, my garden, and Raven's medicinal plants. And I know in Fergus, when I grew a plant for when Raven had her brain tumor being removed, I just grew one plant, and then of course it was not legal, and I was so paranoid. It's insane. When you're doing something to help someone, and because the law is something or other, and here you are with a little plant, that wouldn't have been enough for Raven's medicine, anyways. But anyway, so the chickens were chomping on the leaves, so I thought, damn, I'm gonna have these chickens here. I have to worry about them being eaten. That'll be a bit stressful, and also them eating my garden and stuff. So then when I was thinking about this fenced in area, I started thinking, oh, this is a whole new thing. Now, this was nothing that I planned. It just evolved. And I'm feeling like the more I tune in with whatever you want to call it, it's a bunch of things. Ultimately with that which I am a part of that is beyond me. If you want to call that God, if you want to call that the universe, the infinite, Great Spirit, Gaia, whatever feels right. My deeper self. It's all of those. It's all of them and more. It's the unknown. It's uncertainty. It's so many things that scare us and excite us. Attract us and repel us. The more I find magical moments happen, if you want to use that term in a broader sense, it's wonderful things can happen that you can't possibly predict, that didn't fit into your paradigm before because they seem impossible. Hey, Chippy, get out of that chicken food. Chipmunks I'll be feeding them as well here. But what else can you do? I was feeding them back on the other side too, but now I have a lot more. So yeah, I'm opening myself to this wisdom that I have been trained not to believe is a part of myself. So therefore, I guess I start to feel like it's only outside of me at best. And more and more as I live my life and I let go of the need to control, I'm realizing that there is a presence, if you want to call it that, that is always with me and always ready to open to newer and better things. And I'm fully in control of that, fully. But if I'm my unconscious is blocking me, then how the hell am I supposed to go there? So this is my process of opening up. It's extremely straightforward, practical, useful, sensible thing. It's nothing new agey, it's nothing far-fetched. And that's why I'm embracing this nitty, like the grits of the authentic honesty of my experience, even when it's prickly. Because I want to be real and to open this avenue for myself. And I think if I skip stages just because they hurt or they're uncomfortable, then I'm missing the whole thing. I have to go into that foundational place and rebuild, clear it all out and start again. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm hoping that by me just showing as I unfold my process, showing this process, others will get it or resonate with and go, oh, this is kind of parallel to what I'm going through or whatever. So please, if you like any of these, like push the like button, little thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe if you want to hear others. It's a process, this is unedited, this is raw for a purpose. Now, granted, if I wanted to do it all fancy and stuff, I wouldn't be able to anyways, but it is purposefully raw because I want anyone observing and following these to pick up on as things open up for me and I report those things, you will see, the reality, the truth of it. Because I feel if I'm really honest and also I'm willing to go into these difficult and dark places at times, as an experiment, let's just call it that, for others to observe that hesitate to go into those places. It's not for everyone. But I'm hoping that by being as transparent as I can, others, it's a sharing. It's an offering. It's gratitude. It's a showing of love for my fellow beings. It's what I have to share, and therefore it's what I am sharing. Out of love, from my heart, all mushiness aside, it's just is what it is. So I'm throwing myself into this experience full on, and sharing it for that reason. So the title, hence, for those who think they know me, which is addressed to me too, or the me that doesn't know me yet and is learning me. I'm loving it. I'm loving this way of moving through good and difficult things. And to emphasize, there's things that are unfolding for me that I do not love. But I am doing my best to not judge those experiences and to accept that there is no certainty in the way that we perceive it, that need to control. But yet, in letting go of that perception of having control that we tend to have, I am gaining a different kind of quote unquote control. It's not a control, it's a different something, it's a different stability, it's a different connection. I believe, to a deeper part of myself that is within, without. It's something else. So, enough of my blabbing on, processing and stuff for now. Um, Here, I'll just show you a little chipper in the chicken food here. Hey, chipper. I know what you're doing. Look at him. Look at that little fart. Right in the chicken food. Let's see how close I can get before he decides he has to run. They're not that scared. Aha! So anyways, my chickens, I feel I can tell, because I know them pretty well. I've had these guys for quite a few years. These specific chickens. I've had the rooster for longer, and I've had chickens for almost 20 years now. And then I had them when I was a kid. They, as to best of my knowledge, it is believed they descend from wild jungle fowl in the tropics. So their genetics, their DNA imprint somewhere back there knows jungle atmosphere, environment. So my hunch was that maybe even though these are little commercial chickens, semi-void of a lot of their instincts, or at least mostly void. But the experiment is, and the question in my experiment is, will the little bit left, and this is an interesting parallel for us, is there enough left within us as we've been so drained of these instincts, which I find people out here have a little more of that, more of the connection, but still quite void compared to someone who lived in the wilderness and never saw roads, or, however you'd want to, completely submerged in that environment that they get their medicines from and their grandmother taught them and so on. Like indigenous people of the past, or some still who are in that environment, that their connection hasn't been broken. So here we have an experiment of chickens that represent us, who have been almost completely had that connection disrupted. And I'm putting them back into an environment that is somewhat similar to what their ancient ancestors would have been in, and wondering, will they recognize? Will they therefore feel more connected, more chicken, or more wild jungle fowl in their chicken? And so far, I know the chicken sounds, and I know when the chickens are happy, and different kinds of happy. And I know they were a little bit timid coming out first time this morning into that new place. The rooster is still staying inside for some reason. They sound like something is really excitingly new. They look so content. Like, look at this. They have shade to hide in. Chickens like to be able to have a place to hide because they are food for many things. So they like to feel safe. They like to dig around. They like to eat bugs. They chickens are for me, are such a pleasure to have, because they are direct barometers of the environment. I find if a chicken is happy, I'm happy. My environment is safe in so many ways. And when the chickens are like this, look at them. Like, this one's just sitting there pecking a few bugs off of the thing. And they got enough of these little piles of scrub that collect bugs. I mean, the variety of bugs they're getting. I can't wait to eat the eggs after about a week. It definitely, I find, it's the bug eating that brings that rich orange color to the yolk and makes them so much more potently full of the vitamins and things. So hypothetically, here I have, realistically, I have super happy chickens. That I know. My belief is that it is partially because their instincts are being triggered. And I remember, what was it? Polyface Farms in the States. Look them up, organic farming. And they said something about how a chicken should be able to get in touch with its chickenness. If a chicken does not have that environment that is conducive to their instincts, needs, then it's sort of verging on abuse in a way. And you could say abuse. So my aim has been to take them closer and closer to their chickenness. And that's slightly an experiment. So this is definitely an experiment. My feeling right now is that these are going to be the happiest, already are, the happiest chickens that anyone will see. And then we'll see how that results in the eggs they produce, and so on. So I'm going to observe them over time. But here we have chickens as void of instinct as you can get. I think the more void of instinct would be those fast-growing meat birds, which still find horrible because they grow too fast and their legs break, and you can't grow them into adulthood. You can't breed them because they'll just die before they can. So like the Monsanto seeds, where you can't get, or Monsanto crops, you can't get seeds. You have to buy them all the time. It's a Frankenstein crop, and you could say definitely the meat birds are a full Frankenstein bird. These guys can be bred, so they're kind of just hovering. You know, they are developed for higher egg production. I got them at a convenience because I ran out of chickens of Icelandic breed, and it was just too much work and time to get to the point where I had them again. So these were available, and I just bought them. And I must say, I have been still enjoying them very much. They got an Icelandic rooster to take care of them. Maybe that triggers some of the instincts too. I don't know. But are we them in a parallel world? You know, do we have hope, even though we've had this stuff shocked and trained out of us, these instincts, in exchange, of course, for a carrot or two. And I'm not to judge what's better or what's worse. It's just different. But the question is, can we reconnect to those instincts that are so far off in our genetics? And that's my interest and my exploration, because I want to connect to those things and enhance them. So do many other people. And especially I find during and now after lockdown, because I really don't think there's ever going to be another lockdown, because I don't think people are going to put up with it. I think they're starting to really figure it out. Something's not right. We're being messed with. So, yeah, let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can connect, join together, work together, put our differences aside, and start to enhance the wisdom within us and start to rely on that to be our authority, not assholes in power. And I don't care who they are. I feel we need to gradually evolve beyond these structures that have been so poisonous to us and held us back. It's not an instant thing. This is a slow progression, of course. But you know, can we start to nurture things to get to a point where our wisdom is deep enough that we can redefine what government is, and in that sense lessen the control, the stranglehold it has on us? It's a question. I'm not saying I know anything. I just have questions. But look at my chickens. You could say out of place, out of context. They're bred to be in a factory kind of situation. But look at them. They love it here. And now, of course, I have protection. There's an artificial element. They're not fully out in the jungle. But I think already their mental health, their energy is emitting such a state of contentment. And that bleeds off onto me. You know, I get a really deep inner happiness and joy and contentment as well. My dogs seem more content having the chickens back. You know, it was a part of their life ever since they were little. Even though Khaleesi still likes to eat one if she can get the chance. But boy, if I was it, there's Tor sitting over on the side. See, they have that instinct to protect. And now they've got the chickens back. They get to feel like they're really protecting. Hello, guys. Want to say hi to my friends on the camera? Hi, Baba. What good doggies. What good doggies. What amazing doggies. Yes. And see, my dogs are so happy. Look at that contentment. It's just, oh, it makes me feel so good. And even though there are still many, many challenges at hand that I have to face, as I gain each little bit of strength, each little bit of support, each little bit of something that manifests as courage and connection and little bits of wisdom coming through, it helps me, gives me fuel and resilience to keep moving forward, fully open, fully accepting what comes my way with an open heart, not closing off, not feeling like I need to protect something. And that's the root of what Nomad Village here is going to offer to people as we explore this ourselves. So everything we're offering is not from a book, not from a hypothetical situation or a new age workshop. And okay, here we go. I'm going to market this now. This is from raw, direct experience and the willingness to go within on the part of Raven and I and others who participate and have participated and who offer their love and support. You know, nothing can be done by a person on their own. We are human beings, need community and need to work together. It's part of who and what we are. You know, we also need to have our isolation and solitude as well. Oh, gosh, what a good feeling. So anyways, we'll see how this works out. I think it's a really good plan with the chicken coop on the outside but connected. Now that gives me the option where once they've been here for a while, if I feel like it, I can let them out of the front door and close off this and choose to let them roam outside. Have to be really careful about the plants and just watch what happens. See if they go after them or not. But for now, I just want to be sure that they're safe and not experiment with that, because I'll have to be around more when I do that. But I could say, okay, well, maybe I want them to have a little change and get to go out into the big field area, full sun and grassy and stuff, but, you know, or into the front area. But for now, I think this is pretty damn good. And we'll see how it reflects, because I'll know with egg production, as well as just them enjoying life.